Hi, guys. So, this week we're talking about climate, and I thought I'd try something different by screencasting our notes. I know that I'm the type of student who liked something like that from my teacher, so I want to make sure that we make this online learning experience the best experience possible. All right, so this is new to me, so let's give it a try. All right, so first of all, climate's one of my favorite topics because I often think about like the first time I ever went to California. I was about your age and I went to California during the summer before my first year in high school. And I remember immediately getting off the plane at Los Angeles Airport and feeling a dramatic difference in the climate. And climate, people some say, you'll see some definitions. Oh, climate is the definition of long term weather patterns. It's not quite like that. It's more like the amount of temperature and moisture in that region. So, like Long Island and a lot of New York is, gets a lot of moisture, and temperatures, well, moderate temperatures on Long Island. And then in California, it's usually the amount of moisture is usually more arid or semi-arid. So we'll talk about why that is. It's not just one reason why, what makes one climate of one area different than another. There's a combination actually of 6 factors. We'll talk about some of them today. All right, so 6 factors. 5, we kind of throw in a 6-1. Again, climate is affected by temperature and moisture. And the factors that affect the amount of temperature and moisture are the area's latitude, the elevation, orographic effect or orographic lifting, which has to do with mountains and closeness to large bodies of water, planetary wind belts, as well as ocean currents. So number 5 and 6 kind of go together. That's why we kind of make them 5 factors or 6 factors, however you want to say it. Okay, so factor 1 and 2 are very, very similar. How does the latitude affect an area's climate? Well, basically, you could see here, right along the middle, is the equator, and you could see that those regions in the tropics get the greatest amount of sunlight, and so the temperatures are going to be warmer in those regions compared to the higher latitudes as you get closer to the poles, 90 degrees north or 90 degrees south. So basically, if we were writing this down in our notes, as your latitude increases, the average annual temperature is going to get colder. Okay, so you could see right there, that's an indirect relationship. Also, same thing with elevation. If my elevation increases, temperatures definitely get colder. You climb up that mountain, you definitely need to bring some gear to get to keep you warm. And just to kind of point this out too, this right here is called the tree line. You could see where as you move away from sea level, okay, as you're climbing elevation, the types of trees adapt to that climate. That's kind of like a little microclimate. And this right here is the elevation where the trees stop growing because the temperature gets a little bit too cold for those trees to thrive. So you kind of call that a tree line. You could see that actually if you're hiking somewhere, if you're in the mountains where all of a sudden like there's just no tree growth or vegetation at the higher elevations. How does elevation affect climate? So again, another indirect relationship. As your elevation gets higher, your temperature gets colder. And if we would use neuroscience reference table, which we don't have to right now, right here is the part that matches that information. As your altitude increases, your temperature definitely drops, okay, in the troposphere. All right, what's this? This is Alaska. I'm just going to move on to this. This is, my daughter's listening to me teach right now, so she's laughing. Orographic lifting. Okay, so this is going to affect an area's climate. Depending on which side of the mountain you live on, your climate will differ. A great example is Colorado. You have the west side of the Rocky Mountains compared to the east side of those mountains. And Denver, Colorado actually gets just as many sunny days as Los Angeles. And that is because there is not a lot of moisture and they are hidden from the effects of the clouds. A lot of the clouds kind of dump all their rain and moisture because they're struggling to get up that mountain. These mountains in the Colorados, in the Rockies, excuse me, are like 12,000 12,000 feet in elevation. And where does the moisture come from? Well, it comes way over here from the Pacific Ocean. The wind belts kind of pick up the moisture. That moisture that is warmer, closer to the sea level, will start to rise and expand and cool down and condense, and you get your clouds. And when its clouds become heavy enough, then they will just kind of drop its load and create precipitation. So on this side, you'll get a climate that is, again, I'm going to focus on temperature and moisture. You'll get a climate that is cooler and more humid, I'll say. Whereas this side, it'll be warmer and more arid. The opposite of humid is arid. So actually, if I had the letter A over here and the letter B over here, kind of like at the base of the mountains, I would ask you in class, like, how is the climate different compared to, if you're comparing the temperature and moisture? So you would say that it is cooler and more humid. And over here, you'd say it's warmer and less humid or arid. So your windward side, this is called the windward side because it's facing the wind. And if you're flying over these mountains, you can even see the amount of vegetation. You can identify which is the windward side compared to the leeward side. So the windward side is going to be cool and moist, whereas your leeward side will be warm and dry. Okay, so one more factor. Oh no, actually an example. This is a great example. So you can kind of see, this is state of California, right? This is all over here. This is the Pacific Ocean, and this is state of California. Over here, this is Nevada, and we have a precipitation scale. And you could see that the bluer it gets, the more precipitation there is. And so you'll see that this region right here, that is far from the coast, receives a lot more moisture than some of the other areas. Why is that? You have moisture coming off of the Pacific Ocean, and you have over here, not the Rocky Mountains, but you have the Sierra Nevada mountains. And they create like this barrier for once the clouds form, they create a barrier for the clouds to get over. And they kind of squeeze out all of the moisture and rain from those clouds and drop it all right there, which is really good for a lot of the farms in the valley between the coast and the Sierra Nevada mountains. It's good for the valley regions because they grow a lot of the crops and the food that ends up in the supermarkets. And they benefit, especially when it's not a drought year. They benefit from all that moisture that gets collected and on the windward side of those Sierra Nevadas. And over here, Nevada, is to be very dry and very, very barren and not a lot of vegetation at all. And so it's a great desert, huge desert. And so it's because it's on the leeward side of the Sierra Nevada mountains. The Catskills, same thing. Over here in New York State, this large body of water would be Lake Ontario, okay? And you get these huge planetary wind belts. It's picking up moisture, and then you'll get, in the wintertime especially, you'll get like what's called lake effect snow. If you guys remember, this region right here are the Adirondack Mountains. And so if you live on this side of the Adirondack Mountains, you'd be then on the windward side, and you would get a lot of moisture. You get a lot of snow too in the wintertime. Over here, this little region is the Catskills. You recognize that, and they would get some moisture as well too. So that would just kind of come this way or come this way. But if you're not on the windward side, you're on the leeward side, you would definitely have your climate would be drier. So those are the first three factors. Next video I'll make will be on the next three factors, and we'll kind of talk about a little bit more about California in comparison to New York. Okay, so see you guys later.
Did you like my background?